Hello everyone, I'm Jack Smith from the Cold Hard Truth podcast, where we bring you the cold hard truth on everything football. The NFL playoffs are about to start. We're 17 weeks in. Surprised we got here, but nonetheless, so ready for the playoffs. And just like that, we're going to give you my playoff bracket so far. Looking forward before the wildcard week, going to give you my whole playoff bracket. So let's start. Let's get right into it. The first game in the AFC wildcard game 1 is Baltimore versus Tennessee. They played earlier this year and Tennessee won. But I think Baltimore wins the second time around. I'm a really big believer in them going into the playoffs. I believe in them going into the season. And, they were kind of exposed a little bit early in the year, but now I believe they're flying under the radar again. That's where they were so dangerous last year. I know Anish this offseason talked about how, they wouldn't do well because they were the hunted, but now I believe they're the hunters again, which is why for the past 3 or 4 weeks I've been saying they're one of the most dangerous teams in the league, and if you let them into the playoffs, they can do some damage. So I think they knock off the Tennessee Titans and Derrick Henry here. A big rematch from last year. I think this time, now that the Ravens aren't coming off of a long bye with a long stretch where they're the hunted, I think they get a win. And we got a rematch actually on our next game from Week 17, the Cleveland Browns taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers again. It'll be a different game this time, though, because Pittsburgh gets to play their starters again. TJ Watt didn't play. Ben Roethlisberger didn't play. The Browns had everything to play for. Pittsburgh had nothing to play for, and it was still a 2-point game. And earlier this season, when they played, Pittsburgh played very well. I think, I wasn't super high on Pittsburgh going into the playoffs, but I think they draw a good matchup here in round 1, and I do think that they beat the Cleveland Browns and they move on. I think giving Ben Roethlisberger and TJ Watt and those guys a week to sit and a week to prepare for the Browns, and this team knows what they're getting in the Browns. And it was still a close game last time they played. I just feel like now with the Pittsburgh starters playing, they're going to win the game. And the other AFC wildcard game is a little bit less close. I think the Buffalo Bills are probably playing like the hottest team in the league right now, and they get a reeling Indianapolis Colts team. Yes, I know they played well against Jacksonville, but throughout this stretch to end the season, I wasn't super confident in the Colts and where they were headed. They're lucky to make the playoffs, but I think they run into kind of a buzzsaw here in the Buffalo Bills. So there's my AFC wildcard round. That's what I've got. Moving on to the NFC, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are just a better team than the Washington football team. There's no one I'm going to be rooting for harder than the football team in the playoffs, but in the first round, they draw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who after the last couple weeks have been on an offensive tear. Mike Evans did go down with injury, but they still have Chris Godwin. Ronald Jones came back. Antonio Brown has been good of all players. So I think they're an offensive buzzsaw right now, and I think it's Tom Brady in the playoffs. He's not going to lose to an under 500 NFC East team, but hey, Washington, I was high on you coming into the season. Did not expect the playoffs, but congratulations on making it. I'm really hopeful for that rebuild going forward. They just need a couple new pieces in place to get there. Then the next game. This is probably the most interesting game on the NFC side in the wild card round. And honestly, if it wasn't for the Rams' last game against the Seahawks, where they were not dominated, but they were exposed a little bit, I would have gone with the Rams. But just from what I've seen in that game and from what I've seen from the Seahawks in recent weeks, especially on defense, I'm going to have to go with the Seahawks. You hope that they can get Jared Goff back for the Rams. Same thing with Andrew Whitworth. But the thing is, you're hoping for all these guys to come back. Meanwhile, the Seahawks are sitting pretty with all of their players back. Jamal Adams has already come back off injury and has helped this defense look even better. So they're doing well. I think they continue to do well, and I think they beat the Rams here. And the Rams are also a reeling team. But a couple weeks ago, if you asked me, I would have definitely taken the Rams. Just shows you how things can change in the NFL. And somehow the Bears got into the playoffs. Of all teams that we've seen this season, the Bears found their way into the playoffs after losing so many games in a row after a hot start. But they're the 7th seed taking on the New Orleans Saints. Could be Drew Brees' last run in the playoffs. And for that reason, I think they do knock off the Bears here. I think they win. They should be favored by a heavy amount. They're definitely the better team, and I think they win here. It's just they have a better defense and they have a better offense. So New Orleans is the full package, and I think they win. And that'll move on to the divisional round. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Packers were on a bye, so they meet. These two teams, the Chiefs are going to be playing the Baltimore Ravens. We'll start with that game. Earlier this season, I predicted the Ravens to beat the Chiefs when they met. I can't do it again. I know I've said that Baltimore is a dangerous team going into the playoffs. I know Kansas City is going to be resting on a bye, and that's what happened to the Ravens last year when they lost. But I think that the Ravens were hot, but they draw a pretty bad matchup, and I think the Chiefs beat them here. It's tough to pick against Mahomes and Kelsey and all that right now. I just don't think that the Ravens have exactly what it takes. Any other team in the playoffs, I probably would have had the Ravens winning. It's just they pull the Chiefs after round one, and that's pretty tough for them. You got to hope if you're them that either the 6th or 7th seed in the AFC wins so they don't have to face the Chiefs, because I just don't think it's a very good matchup for them. Other than that, I would have had them winning basically every game in the playoffs other than that, but just they pull the Chiefs, and I've got to give them a loss. Hurts me to do that because I've been so high on this team, but I just don't think they get it done against the Chiefs. Other game in the AFC, Pittsburgh taking on the Buffalo Bills. And I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills here too. It's going to go chalk in the AFC, 1-2 in the championship game. But Buffalo, like I've said, probably the hottest team in the league. Josh Allen now, after the wild card round, has a playoff win under his belt. So he's going to be a little bit more confident going against his Pittsburgh defense. And I just think that Pittsburgh isn't going to have the offensive power to keep up with what Josh Allen and the Bills are going to do in this game. And for that reason, I'm giving the win to the Buffalo Bills. So they'll meet the Chiefs in the championship round of the AFC. Moving on to the NFC side, here's where we start to get interesting, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I have them upsetting the Green Bay Packers. I think the reason for this is I got to go back to where I was before the season. I was not super high on the Packers winning a Super Bowl or going deep into the playoffs, because what I saw from them in the playoffs last year, and I know Rodgers has played like an MVP this year, and I know Rodgers has probably been the best quarterback in the league this year, but he's going to have a week of rest now. He's going to be sitting for a week, and I just don't think that he's going to have enough to come off of that, and that team's going to have enough to come off of that and beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have momentum. It's Tom Brady in the playoffs. I mean, I know it's kind of a tough reason to say, or a tough thing to say, because Aaron Rodgers has played so well, but Tom Brady is still going to be a better postseason quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. And I think this Buccaneers team, it's probably a more talented roster than this Packers team. Like I said, they've got talent at skill positions, but their defense has also been great. When these two teams met this year, Green Bay looked like an unstoppable offense, and Tampa Bay stopped them in their tracks and exposed them on offense. So I think Tampa Bay wins this game, and they're going to move on to the NFC Championship game, where they might meet one of these two teams. And I have it as the New Orleans Saints. So we get an NFC South matchup in the NFC Championship game. And here's why I think the Saints are going to win. Like I've said before, I think this is Drew Brees' last run. There's extra motivation behind that. And while the Seahawks have played well recently, especially on defense, so have the Saints. The Saints have definitely a better defense than the Seahawks, and arguably could have a better offense. I think that Seahawks won't be able to stop the run too well in this game. Alvin Kamara is going to get going. Like I've mentioned, Drew Brees has a fire lit under him for his one last ride, probably. So I think they beat the Seahawks. I just think that the Seahawks don't match up too well with the Saints. I think they would have beaten any of these other three NFC teams, the Buccaneers, the Packers, but I just don't think they beat the Saints in this one for the many reasons that I just talked about. So we're going to have, in the championship round, we're going to have the Buffalo Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs, 1-2, but in the NFC, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints, 5-2. So at least we got a little bit of variety there. Not that I was avoiding going chalk. This is what I think is going to happen. It's good to see, because some of these things that you see, it's just 1-2, 1-2, and that's not the way it works in the playoffs. I just don't think that's how it's going to work this year, especially. But getting into the championship round, I have the Buffalo Bills facing the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of people are picking the Bills. They're a really trendy pick right now, but I got to go with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. Anish would make me yell, "Mahomes boy," and that's what he would say, but I know these teams met before. It was a close game and Kansas City pulled away, but people want to pick Buffalo. Buffalo's the trendy pick right now. Everyone's going with the Bills. I know Shrikar has the Bills, but I think they fall short, and I think they lose to Kansas City, and they start to re-gear towards next year because, I think they lost in the wildcard round last year. This year, the AFC Championship game, they're going to keep progressing, so I just don't think this is their year. I think the Chiefs beat them. And moving on to the NFC, I'm going to have the Saints winning too. It's kind of a coincidence. This is my preseason prediction, but that's not what I was going off of. I just think that the Saints match up well with the Buccaneers. I think that Drew Brees knows his way around the Buccaneers. I think he'll be able to win in a game with them. One-on-one, you got to come down to it. I know Tom Brady's a great playoff quarterback, but But Drew Brees knows what it takes to beat divisional opponents. He's played them twice a year for so many years. Tom Brady's new to this division. He's not as in tune with what the Saints do as Drew Brees is with the Buccaneers. So I think that for all these reasons, I also think that Alvin Kamara has a big game in this one. Also, hopefully Michael Thomas is back by this point and fully healthy, fully able to make an impact in this game to will the Saints to a victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Both these games are going to be super close. I think that neither of these games will be decided early. Both these games are going to come down to the wire, be close games. But that being said, I have the Chiefs meeting the New Orleans Saints in the Super Bowl. It's going to be a big Super Bowl. I'm going to be super excited for this game because it's going to be Drew Brees, maybe his last chance. Patrick Mahomes looking to cement himself as already one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, even in his first couple of years in the league. And my winner is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. I know it's the Chiefs. Everyone picked the Chiefs this year, especially at the beginning of the year. But it's hard not to pick them. They're so good on both sides of the ball. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. Travis Kelce seems unstoppable. Tyreek Hill is unstoppable. They're going to have Le'Veon Bell. It's a pretty good option as a backup running back. And Andy Reid, he's shown that he can get it done in the Super Bowl, in big games, in the playoffs. He showed it last year. And I just don't think the Saints have what it takes. They have what it takes to get to the Super Bowl. I don't think they have what it takes to win the Super Bowl because they haven't proven they can do it. Drew Brees falls just short. It really sucks. I know it's going to suck for Anish too because we're both huge fans of Drew Brees, want him to succeed as many times as he can because he's so good. He's had such a great career. Unfortunately, if he retires, it ends here with a Super Bowl loss. But at least he lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, by far the best team in the league right now, and the best team in the league this season. But that's my entire playoff bracket. I have the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. It's going to be close. All of these games were close. Going down to see the entire bracket. Teams I think could make a run and possibly win it if it's not the Chiefs. Definitely the Ravens. If the Ravens don't match up with the Chiefs in the divisional round, I think they can go all the way and do it. Especially if they don't have to play the Chiefs at any point. I think that they are a big threat. The Bills could do it too. Those are really the three teams in the AFC I think can win. I don't think the Steelers, the Browns, the Colts, the Titans, I don't think they're Super Bowl winners. And especially in the NFC, it's tough for me to say that any of these NFC teams could win the Super Bowl. It's really tough. A lot of people thought the NFC was stacked coming into the year. It's proven that the AFC is maybe not as good, but definitely top heavy. And I think that right now, I've just got to have an AFC team winning the Super Bowl. But there's my bracket. I've got the Chiefs winning. I want to know in the comment section who you guys have winning because I'm really interested in seeing what your guys' playoff predictions are. So drop a comment. Let us converse over who you have winning. Also, please, while you're down there, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 400 subscribers before the Super Bowl, before the Chiefs-Saints matchup, as I just predicted. So please subscribe, help us reach our goals. We're trying to monetize this account in 2021. So anything helps, help us get there. But thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy the playoffs because we got it this year. Be grateful for it. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.